Hello and welcome to this week's episode of The Conversation. I'm speaking to Nikki Glaser about her brand new HBO special called Someday You Will Die. One of my favorite subjects, right? Death. Love to talk about that quite a lot lately. So I have a feeling we're going to be talking about more than death, probably quite a lot of sex, knowing Nikki, and I'm really looking forward to it. So welcome to our conversation. Oh, hi, Nikki.
Hi.
I love that you've got like your own mic with like a pink thing on it.
Well, I podcast from this room every day while I'm on the road right now. So I'm ready.
It actually looks like a vibrator, I have to say. I was like, oh, she's come prepared.
Not even joking. Get ready for you are going to laugh. This is so funny you say that. I'm in my bedroom right now.
And you actually tell me you have one. Yes, you see? Thank
Hi.
you. There you go.
Truly, this is my microphone
I
for
knew
this
it.
whole entire interview.
You know what I'm saying? I know the magic wand. That is the best one indeed, isn't it?
My boyfriend has it. He's visiting me at this. He has it plugged in, ready to go. And I saw it the other day. He will surprise me with it, when we're fooling around. And he always hides it. So I did not know he even brought it. But I saw it the other day when I was straightening up, and I was like,
That's
I knew
hilarious.
it was here.
I'm telling you.
I haven't used it in a while. I'm too busy.
See? Oh my God. You're too busy for an orgasm?
Yeah. Oh, it's been a while. If I have time to relax right now, it's like I gotta sleep. It's gotta be.
You have to prioritize.
Yes. I'm not even thinking about coming.
There's completely understand. But
my life is an orgasm right now. Like the amount of attention and just stimulus, and it really is. It's like too much. Multiples. Since Monday.
Oh my God, I know. Okay, so you have a lot going on. You had the Tom Brady roast the other night. Your special, Someday You Will Die, is about to come out on HBO. So You're just killing it on all sides here.
Thanks.
Let me ask you, why did you call your special Someday You Will Die?
It really was my producing partner, David Jammy. We were trying to come up with a name after it. I would be a mom who names their baby after you see it kind of thing.
That's how I am. I have 3 kids and I was like that. I didn't name them until
You did?
Yes, because you don't know who they are.
I can't predict what it's going to be. We'll see if this name fits. These are names I'm thinking about, but I really had no plan. And then it usually reveals itself in the edit because you kind of watch it enough and you go, oh, she's saying that a lot. And so, there's a line in that I say where someday you'll die. And it was just his suggestion. It was an instant, yes, that's it. I didn't have to think about it. And the other ones I'm like, that'd be good. That one was just like, okay, yes, that.
It just resonated.
And it really, because it represents what the special is about, which is, it's also the title track of I wrote a single for this special as the credit music because it was the very end of the process. We had to put a song at the end of it for the credits. And I have songs in mind because I love music. And I'm like, this, Don't Forget Me by, God, what is her name? Why am I blanking?
Because you've had a million
Maggie
conversations.
Rogers.
Oh, Maggie Rogers.
I wanted that, but
great.
It was oh no, it was going to cost $20,000 or $30,000. That was not even available at the time. And I was like, it would come out of my pocket because we were out of the budget because we spent a lot to make it look really great and be great. And so my boyfriend was just who produced with me. I go, what if I wrote the song? And he was like, that's a great idea. And I was like, really? I've never written a song, but I've always wanted to. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to give myself this job. I can't turn down this job. I just gave myself as a songwriter. A comedian just asked me to do the song for her special. You got to do the job.
Yeah.
And so I did it. And it turned out great. And I have this song coming out that is called Someday You'll Die as well. But it's about my depression. It's about how I really do think about death a lot in both ways of fearing it and also craving it. And that kind of and that's kind of, I think the themes of the special is I think every motivation is fear of death and fear not wanting to think about it, but then also wanting to control it. So I talk about my suicidal thoughts. I talk about, just dark subject matter that kind of.
Do you still have,
gets
do you have suicidal thoughts still?
Oh, a lot. I had them the other night. I mean, they crept in. They're just it's someone who gets colds a lot, gets sniffles or something is I feel it coming on and sometimes you can fight it and it won't go all the way to a cold. It's just a symptom of my brain, the way it works. The disease I have of having depression, it comes on and they're soothing because I'm then I'll just not have to do anything anymore and no expectations.
Well,
and I just kind of fantasize about not existing.
Yeah, it's the ultimate out, isn't it? I mean, I love this title because it's the only inevitability that someday we're going to die. I'm actually making a series about death. So the title for your special, I was like, oh yeah, this is my kind of go.
There's a morbid curiosity to it. But there's also this intense fear. And so But that is risky because people don't want to think about death, right? Like if you bring it up, I think the human mind like can't think about it for more than like 50 seconds, or you switch to something else. Like your brain won't let you think about it. There's some statistic like that. But I went to see Tyler Henry. Tyler Henry is the only like person that's made me feel really okay about death. Like the thing that like I believe in a higher power. I'm like at that point in my life where I'm like, I don't know that this is all random. Like I don't know what it is. I don't think too much about it. I sometimes talk to like a god or something, but in terms of the afterlife, I don't really give it much thought. But Tyler Henry, the guy that can like is a medium who does does celebrity.
Yeah, I've seen him on TV.
Yeah, he had an show, and now he has the show. It was on Netflix called like After Death, and he talks to people and he brings back their relatives that died or their friends or their dog. One time it was a dog. And it's just so believable. And he is so someone that I'm like, this person isn't trying to like get one over on people. Like these are real experiences he's having. He doesn't even want to have them.
I think there's
something going on. So I went to go see him live. It was so impressive in person. It was just, he wasn't trying to fish for if he would be like, Brian died when he was 42, car accident. And someone would stand up and go, I have a brother, 42, died in a car accident named Brian.
Yeah,
he goes, does he spell it with a Y? And he goes, no, he spells it with an I. And he goes, it's not him. And he would go to someone else.
Wow.
It was seriously that. Like, he's like, no, it's a Y. I'm sorry. I want your person to come through, but that's not yours because this is Brian with a Y. It was like that kind of thing.
Oh my God.
Where you go, okay, if he was some kind of charlatan, he would just give it. Yeah, sure, whatever yours is.
I believe in all that shit for sure.
I do. Now I do.
But when you talk about higher power, okay, so I wanted to interview you because the more I learned about you, the more I was like, oh, this is my kind of go. She's dealt with like anorexia. She's dealt with alcoholism. She talks about sex a lot, and her fucking special is called Someday You Will Die. I was like, I have to speak to her because these are like my specialist subjects too. And if you just threw in like trauma in there, I'd be like, yeah, this is the things I talk about.
That'll be the next one. I love it. I'm fascinated by all of these things, and I'm really like open about them because I've to even get over any of them, you kind of have to, there has to be a level of acceptance. And like, I do have some shame over some areas of my life, like, but I really don't. Like the only shame I feel is from other people saying like, well, my low self-esteem, like I am someone who just did this roast and I'm like the most confident woman you've ever seen. And that's why everyone loved it. And I fucking owned it. But the truth of the matter is that is a dimension of me. That was me. That was not a character I was playing. But it is a very small part of me that only comes out in those moments, because I was very prepared because I had worked so fucking hard. But most of the time, I can be very insecure and very.
But we all are. We all have. In order to be able to get up on stage and do what you do, you have to have a level of like grandiosity at times, and then also on the flip side, terrible low self-esteem. It's like better than, less than,
And I feel like I like to talk about having low self-esteem, but I think sometimes people are like, it could be a bad look of saying, because then you start to convince people that maybe you aren't that great or something. But I just don't. I don't feel that way. I think that people can look at my low self-esteem. And I also don't want people to feel sorry for me. Like, she never will let it in. She doesn't like herself. Of course, I have a great life. Like, if I have low self-esteem sometimes, it's just part of my makeup. It's like, it's not something to be like pitied and it's also not something to be like ashamed of either.
Definitely not. And by the way, like, I'm also very transparent. I talk about a lot of my stuff on my series and in my books and stuff. And to be honest, it's put all of it to really good use when you can talk about it with other people and just remove shame and stigma around whatever the fuck it is. So let me ask you a question.
I'm such I have so much shame, so much. And like, I always think, and some people and then I'm very shameless in other ways. I can talk very openly about my sex life. I can talk very openly about my suicidal thoughts. I wasn't always at a place where I could do that. My suicidal thoughts, I only started talking about that. The first time I talked about it was on Joe Rogan, which I talk about it in the special. It's true. I went on the Joe Rogan podcast because he reached out to me because I did a really dark tweet during COVID.
And he was like, are you okay?
Yeah, and he was checking in on me after this tweet to be like, dude, what's going on? And he was the only one that did. I like tweeted about wanting to shave my head. And it was a funny tweet, but it was kind of like too dark because I was like, I wanted an excuse to shave my head.
Brittany, mid.
Yeah, I said, I wanted an excuse to shave my head. So can one of my friends get cancer so I can pretend like I'm doing this in solidarity with you? Like, it was just, it was a joke but it did not do well. I took it down, but Joe wrote to me and was like, are you okay? And I was like, I'm not. And I'm like at my parents' house living there for now months. I think it was during the summer. And then he was like, come on the podcast and talk about it, bud. And so I did, and I was scared too because it felt like, oh, well, then if I admit I have suicidal thoughts, people think I'll kill myself, and then I'm a liability. But then I realized the business doesn't care if you're suicidal.
No, they don't care.
They will get you there. If you're not yet, they'll make you.
As long as people will tune in, they're fine with it. So so you were hospitalized for having anorexia when you were a
Yeah.
teenager, right?
Yes.
How did you come through that? What was it that you ended up doing that helped you move out that place? I
I
know I've heard
lied.
you lied and said you were
I just
fine.
ate what they gave me, and not like I ate the bare minimum just to get out of the hospital because I was just like, fuck this. Like I'm not gonna do what they want. I realize I am sick because I'm in here, so something's wrong, but I don't really want to fix it, and fuck this. I want to go back to the way I was doing it before. I convinced myself when you're an addict, you like convince yourself you like that life. Like I liked starving. Like I want to go back to doing it my way, which is comfortable and a lot of OCD involved. So I just did the bare minimum. I got out, and then I didn't have to wait long before I could like go away to college and go. Mom and dad wouldn't even be watching at that point. I could do what I wanted.
And is that something that's been in remission, or do you still have issues with that?
I still have things for sure. Like my food can be weird, but I for about since COVID when it got flared up pretty bad, I really don't fuck around with my food too much. Like I can be obsessive about food and like monitor what other people are eating. Like now it's going to like I will obsess like you only ate this much today, and I'm like monitoring what other people do. But for me, I'm never hungry. If I'm hungry, I have to eat. That's like a bargain I made with myself. Like you don't get to like get high on starving anymore. That's like not a drug you get to pick up, just like you don't pick up alcohol. Like find something else, bitch. But then I go into overeating sometimes just because, not because I'm starving necessarily, which is I think it was my binging used to be motivated by starving all day, and then I'm just ravenous. But then I can get into overeating just based on emotional things. So that's probably my worst thing is just emotional eating.
And then you talked about you don't pick up drugs or alcohol. So are you sober?
Well, I pick up I pick up marijuana.
Oh, okay.
For sure, I smoke weed. That's something I dabble in and out of, and feel like I have more of a control over it, and it doesn't affect my life as negatively as the other two, I guess. But it's probably something at some point I'd quit.
Yeah, because in my experience, I'm sober a really long time. And in my experience, like I got sober at 22. And then I went through the food thing, and then the sex thing, and then the work thing, and then the fame thing. And then it just like moved around.
Yes.
You know what I mean? The work one really goes undetected because everyone in society really supports that one, especially if you earn the money. So no one's going to complain about that one. That was the one that took me the longest to get a handle on.
Oh,
but the other ones were like, I just rotated through those issues. Because I wasn't really dealing with what was going on in me. So I'm wondering, do you feel like you've dealt with whatever it was in you that prompted the food issue, the alcohol issue? Have you addressed that?
I think it's still there. I still really struggle in ways that I see my adult girlfriends not struggle in like kind of manic ways, not in like
bipolar?
That I can see their eyes get big, like kind of like, whoa, Nikki's going crazy. But I'm also very dramatic, so that's also a part of it. But it's true. I mean, I have some really strong feelings that come out, and I feel really chaotic sometimes. But what I feel now is that I'm constantly in pursuit of getting better. There's no part of me that wants to die or deteriorate or like give up. So if something interferes with my life in that kind of way that's ruining relationships, I'm gonna get to it eventually. I'm trying my best, and that's kind of the attitude I have with it now.
Maybe after this special is launched and out in the world, maybe before the trauma special, you can, right? Maybe you
have to go and cover it to talk about it.
Hello, you got to do research. You could go do a whole bunch of trauma
therapy
work.
Constantly. I'm like, I was just seeing like 3 different therapists because I was trying to find the right kind for me. So I'm really like vigilant about, and I'm constantly reading a new book that's like, I'm going to get into internal family systems. I'm going to see the
IFS, Richard Schwartz. Yeah, he's great.
I got to get back into it. I just picked it up, and then I had to set it down to prepare for this roast. I didn't have time to like do the exercises and draw my feelings, but I was looking forward to it. I was like, oh, this is good.
No, that's a really good one. Have you done EMDR?
I have not, but I've heard great things about it, and I don't know how I haven't.
Oh, I don't either, honestly, but this is research for you. That is like textbook somatic trauma work. So before the trauma special, I feel like I could refer someone really good for you.
I would love that. I'm that's the one modality I have not tried, and I know that I always tell people to try it. So I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I think I'm like scared to get cured or something because I know it would work.
Well, but that's really interesting that you say that, because so many people are afraid of like, well, what will motivate me in life if I get healed up? But guess what, Nikki? It takes a fucking lifetime to heal from this shit.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to be okay.
I'll never be. Yeah, I'm not scared of getting healed. I would love to be healed because then I wouldn't need to be famous or to work as hard if I was healed.
But
like
guess
that's
what?
the thing.
This is the issue though. If you don't want to be famous and you're healed, you might do what I do, which is that I bought myself a 1977 camper van And I spend most of my time driving around in that thing and not like
God,
worrying
so
about being
fun.
famous anymore. And it's such a relief. It is
That is
such a
so
fucking relief.
nice.
And I heard you talk about like on Howard Stern about how long it takes. Like get your fucking extensions in and get the spray tan and do the eyelashes and the whole thing. And you know what? When you don't want to be famous, you don't have to deal with that shit anymore.
I know.
That's your relief.
I know. And it's, you know, there's some part of me, like, especially with this pop after the roast, like I'm reaching a level of fame that I've always dreamed of and kind of was okay with never reaching. Like I really like didn't give a shit. I'm like, I'm at the perfect level. Like last week I was at the perfect level of fame. I really recommend it. Enough people know who you are. Yes, it's demanding, it's hard work, but it's as hard work as anything else.
Yeah, and you can get a table at any restaurant and it's good, right?
People aren't constantly bothering you.
Yeah,
like some people know who you are. It's fun when you do get recognized, but you're not walking in being like, people know who I am. And I don't feel like I'm suddenly at that moment, but I think there's going to be a climb pretty soon here that I was kind of like, okay, you know what? I'm Taylor Swifting it because I remember Taylor Swift saying like, you know, her life is unimaginable to me, the amount of attention and how she can't go places. And she does complain sometimes and there's moments she cries, but she's like, this is what I always dreamed of. I asked for this. Like, this is my dream. Remember that. Like, I used to be just like, in Taylor Swift, you would admit she used to want to walk into a restaurant and have everyone being like, is that Taylor Swift? And I used to have that thought all the time. I used to get off to that thought in high school all the time. Now it does not interest me. And but Taylor probably wouldn't be that interested as an adult.
Because
like that
we
would motivate
change. When you get it and you experience it, you're like, oh wait, this isn't fixing me. What do you mean?
And it's just kind of annoying, and I don't feel safe if anyone's listening. Like I can't imagine her going to. I think how she handles her fame is so cool, but it's just an interesting next when you ascend. You think, oh, I don't know that this was really it. Yeah, you have that feeling of this might not be it, but this is very exciting, and I'm actually just trying to enjoy it instead of being like scared of it or like,
and be present for it. So many
is it
people
going to go away or something or
And so many people who have that experience are also not present for it because it's so overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
It's so much energy, and you're like, hang on a minute, I've got to like expand to like hold all of this, and then that is exhausting in its own thing, you know?
Yes.
All right, let's talk about your boyfriend. 10 years in the same relationship. I think it was so interesting. I just want to say that my husband loves comedy and is a big fan of yours and was saying to me, you know, he loves Howard Stern. And I was like, ugh, whatever. And then I listened to it and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So,
oh, thank you.
Yeah, 10
That's
years. Yeah, a lot, right? 10 years with the same dude. And you said that you were a late bloomer, that you didn't get into sex until you were a little older.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, okay, this is interesting because you talk a lot about sex and you're with one dude. So how have you, like, first of all, why did you get into sex so late? And then why have you chosen to just be with one person?
I got in sex late because I have a bit about it that I'm working on that's kind of offers one story that tells a tiny piece of a larger tale. But my mom did give me a sex talk. I was already a late bloomer, I think, just in terms of hormones and not being attracted to boys at the same time my friends were. And so I was noticing my friends liking boys and stuff. And I was always kind of icked out by boys. You know, I was the girl that was just like, I don't want a boy to like me. Like, I don't want that attention. I always felt that way. But my mom did give me a sex talk where she did tell me like about like boys will try to rape you. Like if you're alone with them, they'll like rape you. And so I do a whole bit about it. Like, you know, it's a horrifying thing to see someone, but I really was like scared of boys. Like if I am alone with them, I will be held down and kissed. And like it's really disgusting. My mom's really like, she was on Jimmy Kimmel last night and my parents, there was like a joke that was happening where they were supposed to reenact a photo of this kiss. That was just a passionate kiss between two, like, you know, closed mouth kiss. And my dad went in to kiss her and they are on my parents on Jimmy Kimmel Live. And my mom's going, oh, get off. So my mom is very like this. So I think that rubbed off on me. Like men are gross and scary. And like, not that my dad's scary, but just intimacy, physical intimacy. And so I think I was scared of it because that trickled down from her. And then I was really scared of being made fun of or being stinky or like saying they said I had bad breath or just like
I was thinking,
I heard
what
the way boys joked,
like
and
your
I didn't
breath
want
or your vagina?
All of it. Like then my vagina feels weird. Maybe I don't have the right holes. Like these are just things that are from someone who's never even looked at her own vagina. Like these boys can say anything. They're so mean. What if I poop? But
did you grow up watching porn? Why did you think
I saw porn a little bit here and there and I loved it. And I was like, oh my God, this feeling racing through my body is so exciting. And I didn't masturbate until like my 30s. I was not a kid that masturbated. I didn't masturbate in my teens. I would like It's not like I was like, I shall never touch myself. Like I would itch my vagina and be like, feels kind of good, but I never pursued it.
Wow. What changed for you?
I think just like awareness about like hearing people talk about their sex lives, knowing what I was going to like, because I wanted to. I was like attracted to boys. I like was in love with them, heart throbbing for them, and so horny for them. Didn't really know what was going on in my body and what to do with that. And then what changed was just getting information from people who did it. So like talking with my friends about like, what does a penis look like? How does it move? What does it taste like? What do you do with it? Like exchanging information made me feel like, okay, by the time I get into it, I know what I'm doing. It was the same thing with my period. I got my period so late, but by the time I got it, all my friends had their period. I literally got my period and was like, oh, I got my period. I just put a tampon in like it was like I'd been doing like a 47-year-old woman.
How
it was my first
when
14, I think 14 or 15, like real late. So I was late.
And how old were you?
Yeah, that helped. And then alcohol. Alcohol is why I was able to ever make out with a boy or get naked with a boy or whatever, that was it.
How old were you when you lost your virginity?
21. And I just needed to get it over with. And he was really nice and he was a comic and he had a girlfriend, which was a pattern in my life for a little bit of just pursuing men who were unavailable.
Well, that keeps you safe.
Yes. Exactly. I felt bad about it. I don't really, but I did, I have mixed feelings about it, but yeah, I used to do that.
You just don't have to do it anymore. But wait, I don't want to jump over that. You were 21 when you lost your virginity, which is late, right? By common standards. Maybe not today because all the kids are a little behind, but that is
true.
Quite late, right? So how old are you now?
I'm 39, about to be 40 in a month, less than a month.
Okay, so you had like 8 years of being a single girl, and then you found the guy that you're with. So have you ever had like, I guess maybe when you were like drunk, Nikki, did you have sex with a lot of people once you got started?
Yeah, but it was always blackout drunk. So there was like no memory of it, or I couldn't really build on it. So I was like, every time I had sex, it was like the first time. Like, I don't really know what I'm doing. And then I would not remember it the next day.
That's exactly how it was for me when I was drinking. In fact, I have had people come up to me in places and say like, hey, and I'm like, have we met? And they're like, you're kidding me, right? And it's people that I had sex with.
See, I would have sex with people. That's incredible. I would have sex with people who I knew, like I would never find myself in a situation that I had sex with a stranger. I've never had a one night stand, but I would find that I would have sex with my friends or guys that I really liked, was comfortable enough to have sex with. And then we drink together and then I was able to have sex with them, but I didn't really like them in that way. And then we're having a sexual relationship that is, I can only have sex when I'm drunk. And that got tested when I like was stay the weekend at this guy's house. And the next day, like there was no booze and we had to like have day sex. And I'm like, oh my God, like I don't want to have sex with this guy. Like, can we drink beforehand? And it was like, he was of course horny because the thing I figured out in a special or two ago was that women drink to fuck because like horniness makes you drunk. It gives you like the same effect on your brain of like, I'm kind of stupid. And men get horny way faster than women. Like they are hornier. So women like, and so they are horny and so they're already kind of like inebriated by horniness. And we have to catch up to get that inebriated because you do need some inebriation to get naked and hump someone like that you just met.
Well, the thing is like our bodies, our brains take a while to catch up, in my experience. So when I started having sober sex, it was like having sex for the first time. And I was 22 and I was like, oh my God, this feels like I'm a virgin. And
oh my God.
It was so intense because I had sex with a lot of people, but I had been drunk. And so it was like starting all over again. I felt like, like it was the first time. And I had to learn how to have sex as a sober woman. And by the way, I'm sober my entire adult life. I'm still learning how to have sex as a sober woman.
Same.
It's like an ongoing thing.
It really, well, I just try not to, like, if I was having sex with someone new, with my boyfriend now, like, I don't even think about it. But like, if I was having sex with someone new, that would be, as a sober woman, I would be terrified. I mean, that's a part of being single that would be horrifying to me, is like getting comfortable enough to have sex with someone when I'm completely sober and there's nothing affecting my state of mind. Like you just have to get, in that case, I just have to get really horny. Like my new rule for myself is if I am not like drunk with horniness, you don't do it. Like if you don't want to, like I trust myself now. I think that's that voice in my mom's head that says you're not gonna have a choice, they're just gonna do it to you, is still in my head, because my first kiss was like an attack. Like he like attacked me and I had to push him off and he was really mad at me afterwards, like really mad. drove me home going like 90 miles an hour and like a 30, like through subdivisions, and like almost ran over me when I got out of the car because he was so embarrassed that I pushed him off. And he was like my friend. And I really liked him too. It was so weird. And it was our first kiss, and he just like leapt on me on this couch. And it was fine. I really didn't care. I was like, Andy, get off. It was like not a big deal, but he got like he went into his parents' kitchen, was slamming cabinets and getting wasted, and then drove me home and like almost ran over me. So I have this thing of like, if you go into a sexual situation with a man or where you like tell him you like him, then he has a right to just take whatever. And if you don't like it, then he'll run over you.
I mean, guess what? That is actually the case for many scenarios.
Yes.
I hate to say it, but it's true. But like when you give yourself that kind of rule, if you will, of like, look, if I am not like dripping with desire for you, I just don't want to do it, right? Mm-hmm. Like, how do you get into that place though? Because with life, okay, but so I'm married to the same dude for 23 years. You're 10.
How do we in a relationship, 10-year relationship? You can't.
Yeah.
That's
what I'm saying.
Like, for me, that's why my boyfriend and I break up so fucking much, is because when we break up, I really feel like he's gone. And then I feel like, oh, I need to get him back. And we get back together, and then we have that again. Like that initial, energy. Like, I'm so horny for you and I almost didn't have you. Like when you have someone, it's boring. Like that's part of the sexual desire, is like conquering something.
Oh my God. Have you read Esther Perel, Mating in Captivity?
Love Esther Perel. Oh my God.
He talks about this, the polarity that needs to be created. It is that wanting and desire that doesn't happen in like the daily routine of like, like, oh, the toothpaste is out and can you feed the cat? And like, in my case, it's like, oh, the kid's schedule or whatever. Desire doesn't come from that routine, consistency, predictability. It comes from unpredictability, lack of consistency. That's where the polarity comes. And that's the fucking challenge.
I honestly, that's why I wouldn't want to be in an open relationship, but my ideal is that like, I have a guy who I feel other girls want, and that I have to like, I don't have to prove myself to him, but it's like, I like that I like love when my guy is like super desired by other women and that they're trying to get at him.
Okay,
like, I love it.
Nikki, okay, so
I'm competitive. So it's just like, oh yeah, come after, try. And that really charges me up when I feel like I have a guy who's just like, I don't really want other women. I'm just like, no, I want you to like, I want you maybe to not be mine. I want to fight for you every day.
But that thing that you talked about is a very real thing. And I actually read a book called Existential Kink. And it is about identifying what that kink is for you. And I have a very similar one to you, which is, it might sound usual, but when other people want my person, I want them too. I want them more. And
it's
you
called
just
hot
identified
husband. Because there's a whole subgenre called hot wife, and that's pretty much it. It's like not a cuck. It's not someone that's like, you're fucking my wife, and they're tied up in the corner. They're like kind of into it, like, yeah, fuck my wife, like, or whatever it is. So it's like, it's not even, it could be any, it could be like they want to fuck your wife or they're fucking your wife, like in that strata, I guess. But then the opposite is hot. I've seen it called hot husband. And I've met a few women like us who that resonates with. Like, I wouldn't even like mind, like, yeah, there's even a piece of me that I'm like, yeah, go have sex with someone else. Like, I know you won't like her as much as me, and you'll learn
that's
that you
how
don't.
I feel,
I don't
by the
really
way.
even care.
But you talked about fantasizing fucking celebrities, and I would like to know who those people are, because just in case I fucked them, and I can save you the time.
Oh, that's so nice to know. Okay.
Yeah, just in case.
Who have I imagined fucking? It's always like gotta be, I don't even want to say, because it's gotta be someone like in that I could like maybe get,
Yes,
like
I want to know.
I don't really fantasize
they?
about people I can't get. So I'm trying to think.
I want to know who's like, who do you think who's like in your ballpark where you're like, yeah, I could probably swing that one.
God, I don't want to say, because I have a boyfriend, and if he hears this, he would be like, I don't want him to know the real people. I think like we have joke ones that I say, like, oh, I like Zac Efron. I
say that one too. Yeah.
Like, you have these ones that you're like, these are the archetypes of the guys that I would be attracted to. But if he knew the truth, I would be kind of horrified for it. Like, I don't want him to actually know my ones.
You are thinking of taking care of your boyfriend and not expect the real things.
He would, I think he would appreciate that answer, but it might actually acknowledge that there are things I'm not telling him. So I'm not sure which answer he would.
Do you want me to take this
out?
But
I am trying to do better by him, because I, as someone who runs their mouth all the time, you don't think about the people in your life who like might be implicated in your stories. So yeah, I do.
Okay, so do you want to have kids?
No, not at this point. I feel really comfortable with not. I've like, it's just doesn't, I don't have the desire. So I'm just like, there's a part of me that thinks like I should have the desire. In the same way, it's like I should buy a house because every one of my friends does. But I'm like, wait, why would I buy a house? And they're like, because it's a good investment. I'm like, but I'm not really like struggling for money, and I don't really care. Like, I guess I'm not like obsessed with making more money when it comes down to like just a couple. I don't know. Like, just seems like a lot of work for a lot more money. And they're like, you could just pay people to take care of your landscaping. I'm like, but I still have to tell someone what to do and like look at a booklet of like what they're gonna do, and like it seems like a fucking hassle, and I don't really want it. And I think I'm right. So that's kind of the way I've approached the kid thing.
I'm so pleased you're saying this because Chelsea Handler is a friend of mine, and I interviewed her, years ago. And every few months, the same fucking quote comes up in my Google searches of Chelsea Handler on this show.
Oh, really?
Saying how she didn't want kids, and it gets pulled up. This quote gets pulled up years after year after year after year. And so now this quote will get pulled up. Nikki Glaser said on the conversation with Amanda de Cadenet that she didn't feel the need to have kids.
I don't. And my special, I talk about that a lot, about all of my friends kind of falling off one by one because they're having kids. And the truth is they're not falling off because we actually are doing a lot of, we have a girls chat. My best 9 girlfriends are on this chat together, and it's going 24/7. I mean, we're constantly filling each other in on each other's lives, leaving little podcasts about this is what's happening in my day. And my friends, 3 of the girls on that chat are now pregnant, and they're each now having their babies, and one of them already has a baby, and they would be really lonely without it. So we're working to keep them in our lives. And it's not like I'm like, my friends get babies and they just choose their baby over me. Like women kind of get lonely and less friends when they have babies. And it makes me sad because it does take so much work that you don't have time for your friends. And so I'm able to like still facilitate those relationships that I thought I was going to lose because my friends like really care about their friendships. But it does bum me out. Like when my friends suddenly care about something that I don't really care about as much. But then of course they have the baby and I love it and I'm happy that they're happy. But it does feel like a thing I should want sometimes, and I wonder why I don't, and I wonder if I'm going to regret it, but I don't think I will. I really don't.
Maybe you can just get your
and I can always adopt
out.
if I do. I have no problem adopting. There's no part of me that's like, I need to carry a baby or I need the baby to look like me. Like that doesn't interest me.
And by the way, like you don't have, I mean, this is really bad to say, but like you don't have to go through your body getting like fucking destroyed.
Yeah. It's so much.
Honestly, like I've had 3 kids, and when I have friends that did like surrogates, I was like, oh my God, why did I not know about this?
I would do too.
Yeah. And in hindsight, I was like, maybe I should have done that.
But my friends are describing the joys of pregnancy and like obviously the pitfalls of it, but like how incredible it is. And some women are just attracted to that experience. And I just have never felt that attraction to it. And I really, I'd also explore this in the special, but I really don't want to love something as much as a parent loves their kid. It's too risky to me. Like I love the idea. I do. The love I have for my nieces and nephews and for my dogs and my parents and my friends. I'm like, that's enough. I don't really need to take it up a notch. I know it gets better and it feels better, but like, I'm good. I smoke weed. I don't do heroin.
It's like, okay, so what you're saying leads me to believe that perhaps you have a fear of intense vulnerability. And
yeah.
So where do you think that comes from? Do you have the abandonment wound?
Probably the fact that my feelings didn't get met as a child by my parents, and not in an intentional way, and not in like, they just did their best and it wasn't good enough for me, who needed a lot of emotional support. And I was made more to feel like you're weird for it, or you're dramatic, or like, Jesus Christ, you're a problem, for your feelings are a problem. So like I'm not comfortable being like,
you don't want to have to lay it out there because you'll get rejected possibly.
Yes. I'm not comfortable putting out my feelings because I will get rejected, or I will be a burden. In a lot of ways. Like when I do find when people do come to my rescue, because I do need rescuing a lot. So my girlfriends will, I always feel so just guilty. I don't really like people that have to hug me, and like, I'm like, going like, and I'm like, oh my God, they're just like having to do this. Like, I really am not good at receiving love. But I also am like, I do fear liking, like if something, I don't know. I fear loving something that much. And I guess that's kind of a sad statement, but I kind of don't know what I'm missing.
I don't think it's a sad statement. I think it's a very common feeling. A lot of people have that experience. I mean, I know I do, but would you say you have like an abandonment wound?
I think there's probably that. It's interesting. All the wounds that I have, I can't really trace to like, who acted like this in your childhood. I'm having a lot of those gaps come up for me where it's like somebody obviously made you feel like they would abandon you. I don't know, because I vacillate between I'm avoidant and insecure. I'm both.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, what's it called?
Ambivalent.
Messy or what?
It's like both. You flip from one to the other,
Yeah, there's
depending
some word
on
for
who
it
wants
that
to
is,
fuck
like,
your guy.
disorganized. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's what it's called. Disorganized attachment is what I am. And so it's very representative of who I am, even in my life with my organization skills. But yeah, I think there's probably an abandonment wound. My mom drank when I was a kid, greatest woman ever. And like, I'm so lucky to have my mom. I love her so much. But there's a little dysfunction there. And then obviously with, you know, just when there's alcohol present in a family, it's not that even person's problem. Everyone is playing a part in that person's problem. It's like it's a whole family system thing.
I mean, I grew up with a mother with alcoholism, and so I am the child of an alcoholic, and I completely know what that looks like.
And that is what we are forever and ever, and it will inform
That's right.
It really opens up a whole world to you when you like read the traits of a child of an alcoholic. And you're like, it says boom, boom, boom. You hit all of them. It just triggers this all in us. And it's not my mom's fault. It's not whoever she got it from.
No.
It's no one's fault. It's just the way it is. So I think
agree.
That definitely is what I came from and causes like a lot of pain and a lot of, you know, and feeling like the eldest daughter kind of shit and having a really pretty sister and feeling like I was just a very sensitive child, as I hear from old teachers of like, you were just the most sensitive girl.
I think you probably still are.
Yeah, I think so.
Right?
Yeah. I definitely am. I can't handle criticism. Like the other night I got a standing ovation at the roast and if you look at the video where he's like, she's getting a standing ovation, I'm like, my back is hunched over. I'm like, no one look at me. Like I really was like scoliosis spine because I was so embarrassed of it because I didn't want to gloat and I didn't want to make anyone else feel bad
that they weren't getting the standing ovation.
Because I would not be able to fucking handle it if I wasn't me in that situation. I would feel so sad. So I was just trying not to gloat at all because I was thinking about the other people and how I would hate me right now. Like it was really a sick thought.
But Nikki, let me just tell you something. You as a woman, it's interesting that that's the response you have. A lot of women have that. I can tell you if Kevin Hart was getting that, there's no way he would be like bent over like, please don't give me this because I don't want to make other people feel bad. You know what I mean? It's also a gender thing that we've been trained to not
It's
accept.
An empathy thing. Well, I'm obviously projecting, so I can't assume that anyone is jealous of me in that moment and they need me to not gloat and they couldn't handle it. So that's just me putting me in them. But it's also, I do feel like I have an extra layer of empathy, which comes from being a child of an alcoholic where you're sussing out completely, like, how's that person feeling? Is that person okay? Is everyone okay? Like, I'm aware constantly of any discomfort around me, and I'm trying to balance it and make it okay.
You and I could definitely be friends.
Well, we are.
We are very compatible for like understanding each other and I knew that when I learned about you from my husband. I was like, yeah, this is just my kind of woman.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. You know what? I've asked you all my questions.
My God, you had such great questions. You're so good.
I really, really enjoyed.
You're so sterny. You are like, you are just incredible. Like, you know, I do a lot of these and you're obviously extremely talented and such a natural. And it was an honor to get to be interviewed by you.
Thank you so much for saying yes. And I really hope you get to use that vibrator soon. Thank you so much for listening to that fantastic episode. Please like, subscribe, and all that business. It does really help the podcast. And most importantly, come join me on Substack. Substack is where I'm showing the video of the entire episode that you just listened to. So find me on Substack if you want to dig in a bit deeper to the subjects that we talked about in this episode. See you there.